And now, without further ado, I'm going to welcome in 24/7 Sports college basketball recruiting analyst Travis Branham, otherwise known as the czar of the transfer portal. Trav, thanks for joining us. I know this has been a busy day for you.
Yeah, it's been extremely busy, and it's only can continue picking up steam over the next about 10 hours before this portal officially closes. Now, I will say we could see some more names pop in tomorrow and on Friday, as players must submit their paperwork before the end of the day. However, that means they have 48 hours for the schools to officially place them into this transfer portal.
All right, now that is good context. And already today we've seen some pretty big names go in. I want to mention them briefly. We've got Cam Christie from Minnesota, Trevon Brazile as well from Arkansas. These are two guys that declared for the NBA draft and are going through that process, but now also put their names in the transfer portal, presumably just to give them some options. As we've talked about, some of the prices that we are hearing in the NIL market these days are, quite frankly, they're bigger than what you would get as a two-way contract in the NBA. So the earning potential could be higher, as we've been saying for the last few weeks, by going back to college basketball. Do you expect we'll see other players who are already in the NBA draft put their name in the portal before the end of the day?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing, or not seeing, well, we've already seen Trevon Brazile and Cam Christie, as you mentioned, but we're hearing a lot of smoke about around other transfers out there. And so will they actually hit the portal? For example, this weekend I was told of a big-time transfer that was going to be hitting the portal as early as Monday morning. Monday obviously came and went, and got word this morning he actually decided to change his mind and headed back to school. So I would anticipate there being a couple of those situations, but I do anticipate that there will be more big-name players to hit this portal.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the guys that we know are already in there. These are players who have put their names in the portal, have been going through the recruiting process. Last week, we broke this down, and a number of the intel that you provided turned out to set the stage for what has happened in the last 7 days. Most obviously, John L. Davis going from FAU to Arkansas. Travis, you reported that 7 days ago, days ahead of when the rest of the industry have it. Now that is official. Again, he's another player, though, going through the draft process. So want to ask you about some other guys here. Let's start with the Miami big man, Norchad Omier. What do we know about where he's at with his process right now?
Yeah, right now, if I'm Rick Pitino in the St. John's program, I'm feeling very good about this recruitment. He's a double-double machine, high motor, extremely strong and powerful, 4'5", has versatility on the defensive end of the floor. Now, he doesn't have great size. So all things right now are pointing to that St. John's is in the driver's seat of this recruitment. However, there are other schools that are keeping their eyes closely on Norchad Omier, and they are definitely going to be shooting their shot in a very big way to see if they can block this move from Miami up to St. John's.
All right, now St. John's has also been rumored as a possible favorite for Kadary Richmond, and that happened almost immediately after he put his name in the portal from Seton Hall. Of course, the New York native will be staying for one extra year of college basketball. It's worth noting he was not on the NBA's early entry list. Now, I should say that there have been what is being referred to some clerical errors on that list, so I guess it's possible he ends up being someone that declared for the draft, but right now the expectation is he is headed to college no matter what. What is the latest in his recruitment? Is this another one that St. John's could be in the lead for?
Yeah, Jeff Goodman was the first to report it, and I'm going to just echo the same. That is exactly what I am hearing, is that St. John's with Omier is in the driver's seat of this recruitment. And again, as you're saying, we were expecting him to be testing the NBA draft waters. You're talking about an all first-team Big East player. Arguably the top transfer in the entire portal. We got official rankings coming out at the closing of this portal tomorrow on 24/7 Sports. So I would encourage you to watch that. And as I go through the film, I keep going back and forth on whether he is the number one transfer in the portal. But on the recruiting front, yes, St. John's appears to be the leader and in this driver's seat, as long as he doesn't stay in this NBA draft, as we're expecting him to, as you said, due to clerical errors.
All right, now, another player, similar guy from the Northeast at Rutgers, Cliff Omoruyi. Again, St. John's was talked about as a favorite early on, but it seems like it's gone in another direction. We are talking about an absolute physical specimen with terrific shot blocking measurements, and just one of the most massive physical deterrents inside the lane. What is the latest with his recruitment?
Yeah, this one has been very fluid early, as you said. It was all St. John's, potentially even could we see UConn get involved, and just that the overall consensus was he was going to stay in that New York tri-state area. But now here we are, nearly 2 months later, and he is still uncommitted. And now he's taking visits to schools very far from his home up in the Jersey, New York, Connecticut tri-state area. Recently visited Alabama and is set to visit North Carolina tomorrow. So there is a handful of schools at play here. I'm very closely watching Alabama and North Carolina tomorrow. It is too early to make a prediction, but Hubert Davis and the Tar Heels are in desperate need of a five-man, and Cliff Omoruyi would provide a lot of the things that they're looking for in their five-man next year. So I would anticipate them being aggressive in this recruitment.
All right, now one player, or one theme, I should say, that we've seen this year, and we've actually seen it in recent years, is the high-profile freshmen, the guys who come in, whether they were McDonald's All-Americans or five-star prospects, but the celebrated high school prospects. If they hit it right off the bat, they're one and done, and everybody's happy. If they don't, it seems like there is even more pull on those guys to go into the portal than others. So I want to ask you about Sean Stewart right now, because we saw his minutes increase throughout the course of the season at Duke. But nonetheless, he entered the portal regardless. Where do things stand right now with Sean Stewart, and just in terms of his overall recruitment?
Yeah, just on the whole McDonald's All-American freshman front, I'm going to just say this is, again, off topic to start, but I think we're going to see a big shift in how college basketball programs recruit these back in 15 to 25 ranked prospects. Because, like you said, when these players aren't one and done, we are seeing them quickly hit the portal. And so I would anticipate, me and you, let's go back a year ago, we would have projected Sean Stewart to be a guy that needed multiple years in college, as some of these other guys that have hit this transfer portal, like Andre Stojakovic or Bronny James. You're seeing all these back end 15 to 25 players hit the portal. So I'd anticipate that many more of these – or I would anticipate that these college basketball programs that would historically be recruiting all these kids may take a step back and not recruit them as hard, just because of the fact that they are, if they are not one and done, meet those expectations, they're going to hit the portal. But on the recruiting front for Sean Stewart, he has now taken 3 visits, first to Cincinnati, then he went to Ohio State over the weekend, and he recently, as of yesterday, finished a visit at Georgetown. These seem to be the top 3 programs in the school I'm looking at. The closest is the Ohio State Buckeyes. Jake Diebler recruited Sean Stewart, came in second in the recruitment coming out of high school. Now, obviously, Diebler is the head coach at Ohio State, having already gotten him on a visit. And there's a big need for the Buckeyes. After Felix Okpara left and is now committed to Tennessee, they need another guy in the front court. And Sean Stewart's power, his strength, his motor, and his athleticism would be a massive need for the Buckeyes.
Be very interesting to see, given a whole preseason, what Diebler is going to do from a defensive philosophy. But I'll tell you what, if whether it's Ohio State or one of the other finalists, if this is a switching defensive team, I think Sean Stewart is an ideal kind of undersized big man, because he's got the potential to be highly versatile defensively with his power and the way he can move his feet. Trav, I know we were in the closing hours here of the deadline. Before you leave, I want to ask you about one more player, and that's Javon Small. Now, I want to emphasize the end of the portal means that is the final day players can go in. It does not mean that they have to commit by then. We're going to see commitments go on for an extended period of time here. But Javon Small, there appears to be, at least on social media today, one team that is beginning to trend for him, and that's West Virginia. Is that indicative of what's really going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, actually, right before we went live here, I have placed my crystal ball for Javon Small to end up with West Virginia. This has been a fluid one. Last week when we did the show, he was in the midst of trying to set up more official visits. However, since that show, he decided to pivot. And he has been cutting teams out. More teams have been getting involved. And this has come down to, ultimately, West Virginia, Kansas, and Oklahoma. But as of right now, barring any changes, it is expected that Javon Small will be a Mountaineer next season.
All right. Now, last but not least, I know we've got just a couple more minutes with you here. Is there anybody that you have your eye on here in the last hours? And as you said, they have to submit paperwork by the end of the day. That doesn't mean it has to go public, but are there any names that you're willing to share? And it's okay if the answer is no, that you are going to be watching here in the final hours, or any themes we should be keeping an eye on?
I'm going to take the life raft out on this one, not to stir the pot too much.
But
I'm going to phone a friend in. Yes, we're still hearing some names. That's all I'll say at this point. And I would say we're going to see at least 2 or 3 more big surprises before this.
And you know what that means, folks? That means you better keep it locked on 247sports.com. You heard the czar of the transfer portal right there. He's expecting some big names to go in. Trav, thank you as always. And remember, for the latest in the transfer portal intel, you can follow him online, and you can also go to 247sports.com, wall-to-wall team coverage, recruiting rankings, transfer portal updates, and you can bet between him and the entire team. We will have you covered, not just throughout the rest of the day, but in the coming days and weeks ahead.